Assalamu alaikum. Mr. Moderator, our distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, our friends and our enemies.
What does the black Muslim man look like? What is African American Muslim manhood? What is the agenda of the black Muslim community, which is something that we have to set. We have to set that agenda. And if we as men collectively say, look, this is where we're going, and in light of where we're going, this is the standard that we have for our women. They don't have to even agree. But what we can guarantee is that the women that are with us will be those that agree. Then the feminists have to just be somewhere else. No offense, but I'm just saying, but even in our masjid, most of the brothers will say, hey, man, that's a little too harsh, man. Calm down. And it's like all you're doing is advocating traditional roles. But anyway, I see you brought somebody on. That's actually another topic.
Before we continue, Fatima with the $10 super chat. May Allah reward you and bless you and multiply it for you a millionfold. Ameen. And she says, Assalamu alaikum, Allahumma barak, great discussion. What are some high impact activities that we can implement within ourselves and families and children to build strong leaders for the future? Right. So we'll let Brother Rashad answer that question, and then we'll bring on Brother C.L. Edwards, inshallah.
So I think that there's some simple activities. I think the first thing that, especially women, you sisters are the builders of leaders. Notice how we say Isa ibn Maryam. Notice how Hajar, the story of Hajar, that's the basis of she said for Ismail being saved and the city of Mecca being established. Notice how the story of Musa begins with his mother. So the way it's presented in the Quran and in the tradition, our mothers have a special role in terms of setting the conditions that produce leadership. And I think that that's what you all have to see as your primary role as wives and mothers. That doesn't mean you're limited to just rubbing two stones together to clean socks. That means that your job is to provide an environment that produces the minds and the hearts that will be the future of our communities. And in other words, heaven lies at the foot of the mother. In the garden lies at the foot of the mother, and every child that comes from your womb is a comes straight from paradise. That child has no hell. That child has no wickedness. That child has only purity and goodness. And it's your job to cultivate that garden. They're at your feet before you turn them over to us. That is a sacred role, and for you all to execute, first just know that, and then a part of that, the work then. You should be teaching them Quran. You should be teaching them the love of Muhammad the Prophet, praise and peace be upon him. You should be instilling in them a sense of what their sacred duty is for community life, for the life of the community. So they should be learning their first surah or their first chapters of Quran from mother. You should be reading it to them in the morning and before they go to bed. You should be teaching them about our Prophet, his traditions. First, about just the moral virtue and proper behavior. And you should be impressing upon them respect for their fathers, respect for their family, respect for the community, and instilling in them a sense of duty. If we could have children growing up in environments like that, you have to keep the television off. If you do have it on, you have to be very selective. You have to be guardians of your garden, guardians of your sanctuary. The music, the social media, you have to be protectors of that, knowing that this environment is designed to deform our children and turn them into something that's non-human, really. Because while we are out working and producing, like I'm not with my family right now, I'm here right now. But I trust that my wife is doing something that's going to situate my sons to one day occupy this role that I'm in, or doing an even greater role. So that's what we need. from you all. So I would say starting with the Quran, starting with reading the seerah of the Prophet, developing in them a love for the Quran, a love for Allah, a love for our Prophet, and a love for their community responsibility. And then that's in general. And then the males, you want to give them certain obligations and responsibilities in the home. For the females, the same. You want to be training your daughters to do your job when you're no longer here. You want to be training the males to do the job of protecting you all and establishing, helping to establish community in the exterior sense. So that's where I would start.
Okay. Oh, we lost brother CL, but we'll
That
wait for him
was
to come back.
legitness. Yeah, it was. Huh?
Wait, oh, he's back. Okay, mashallah, brother CL is back. And also, I just wanted to add to that, Imam Rashad, that uh, when you're raising a child or children, you're not raising the child or children by yourself. You have to raise the child or the children with an entire community, right?
Mm,
Like other people do it. Okay,
right.
so the people that you expose your children to, that's a part of the raising process. Make sure your children are around righteous people, good people, whatnot. Keep them connected to the masjid, which is very important. Because especially in the black community, there are many distractions and vices and things to take you, here and there. This is something that's by design, anyways, right? So we have to protect our own interest as a community.
That's right.
Okay, brother CL, brother CL, you there?
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Alaikum
Wa
salam.
alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sheikh. How you doing, man? You there,
Pretty
CL?
good. It seems like I have a delay.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I can see you. You got a delay. Yeah, make sure your YouTube is off, and let us know what you got for us, Sheikh.
Now, I've just been sitting and listening to you guys speak, and you guys have been saying some really good things, really on point, making some really good effective points. Um, in my estimation, I think culture is extremely important. I think as Muslims in general, black or otherwise, we haven't really realized how important culture is.
Mhm.
Um, I know I've sent you snippets d- of um, of different things that I've put on my channel, taking surveys, and the some of the results of those surveys are kind of disturbing,
Mm,
because I know a lot of the people who responded to those surveys are young, between the ages of 18 and 35. The majority of the viewers on my channel are between 18 and 35. So you got brothers and some sisters who are saying that you know they don't even go to the masjid that very often. Um, they haven't prayed Fajr in the masjid in over a year, or
Mm,
so. There's a really cultural breakdown among American Muslims, not just Black Muslims, but even the immigrants as well. And it's kind of like I would chalk it up to. It seems like there was an idea among all the Muslims that somehow just being Muslim um, made you impervious to the ills of the society going around you. That
mm,
just simply being Muslim meant that we are different than the kuffar, and what affects. And obviously, that's just not true. You know, um, many Muslim parents believe because they didn't watch certain movies and they didn't listen to music, and they weren't affected by things going on in the culture. Automatically, somehow they believed that their kids weren't going to be affected by these things, and their kids weren't going to watch those movies and TV shows, and their kids weren't going to listen to that music,
mm,
and that's wrong. We can make it center right on African American Muslims. You look in every area where there's a concentration of black Muslims, and you look at the newest generation. The newest generation obviously have been completely affected by what's affected the other Muslim youth. I mean, I'm sorry, the other non-Muslim youth, to the point where the cultures are there's no difference between the cultures of a black youth and a non-black youth. They dress the same, they talk the same, they behave the same, they engage in the same activities. Um, the only difference is one. Um, even it's another YouTuber who's been going around interviewing black Muslim youth in different areas and talking to these youth, talking about how they're involved in the drug trade and in gangs, and even Muslim gangs killing and shooting other Muslim gangs. Um, and I remember one brother from Philly, he said that just because you're Muslim doesn't mean you're not the ops. You can get it too. This is the mentality.
Mhm.
This is the mentality, and I think the sooner sooner we really deal with reality and really are able to open our eyes up and really say what the because when you go to the doctor, the first thing the doctor does is diagnose what the problem is. You can't treat a problem that you refuse. Really be honest
Mm-hmm.
about what's wrong
Yeah.
in order to come up with a prescription to try to deal with it.
Brother Rashad, what do you got to say about that?
Uh, I agree. Um, I think the culture is the number one problem right now because in America the culture is the dominant influence over our life. We don't it's not the school system. When I say culture, I'm speaking specifically of entertainment culture, though culture has a broader what is it, anthropological definition, but specifically entertainment culture is the biggest influence over our life in this country, and it really sets the standard of practically everything: how we dress, how we talk, what we even find attractive and unattractive. And it does actually seep into those broader regions that incorporate or that encompass the broader definition of culture. It does seep into politics and business, etc. So I think for us, one of the things that we have to do, and this actually does go back to the question about the sisters. This does go back to the homes, because traditionally women, at least for the formative years, they were the transmitters of culture. Um, Before, for example, you turn the boys over to the men and they go through some types of rites of passage, etc. I mean, everyone passes it down, but initially, the mothers pass it down. Obviously, there's an issue if most of our homes are without fathers, so the mothers are not even situated comfortably to really be in that comfortable role of passing down culture, and protecting the sanctuary of the home. So what do we do then? Um, we as men have to extend our arm of responsibility. And I do believe that a big challenge for us is just our wives, and that we do have the responsibility to father, the responsibility of just maintaining a home is we already have so many pressures upon us that it's very hard for us to even consider how are we going to go about the work of now saving even more boys, saving even more families. But I think that that's the challenge. Nevertheless, the group of brothers that I associate with, um, here in Atlanta and across the United States, that's really what our discussion is all about. That's what our interest 100% is. Um, we are now that kind of goes into another direction, though, and I don't know if we're going to talk about that today. Like, for example, I have a close friend. He just took on another wife, um, but it's connected to this reason. It's connected to this reason.
Paper gold. You see, black folks are chumps. If America were to tell you to bring all the rocks in this country to her, and she'll give you $1 million for it, you'll do it. And the next day she'll tell you we're using rocks for currencies, chump.